AI, AI, AI. We've all heard of the AI barrage that's been unleashed upon all of us in the last 2 to 3 months. We've seen videos on how ChatGPT is the most awesome thing since sliced bread and how AI is going to change our lives forever. All this is great and awesome, but I have a question for you. How does it impact you as a software engineer? In this video, we will try and answer some of these questions. As always, we'll start with the perspective or the thought process. We'll talk about how to start thinking about AI and why even to think about it. We'll talk about why 2023 could be the defining year for AI. Next, we will take 3 persona types in the software engineering domain and see how you can leverage AI tools to 10x your productivity. We'll talk about a DevOps engineer, we'll talk about a technical architect, and we'll talk about lead in an SI, a service integrator, or a services company. Finally, we will talk about some practical ideas on how you can start your freelancing journey today, leveraging AI tools and technologies. Let's get started. The perspective on AI for software engineering. I have a quick question for you. Have you personally used ChatGPT yet? Have you spent some time experimenting on it yourself and understanding what the entire circus is all about? If yes, great. Skip to the next chapter and continue with the video. If not, then why not? Is it that you are intimidated by any new technology? Is it a lack of time? Is it, oh, it's not in my interest area? Or is it sheer laziness? Let me be brutally honest with you. It's most probably lack of priority. Lack of priority on staying at top of your game. Pause the video now and think about this. If not you, who? If not now, when? Why 2023 could be the year of AI? We've all seen technologies explode right in front of our eyes in the last about 8, 10, 15 years. And I'm not talking abstract concepts like Industry 4.0 and things like that. I'm talking TikTok. I'm talking Instagram Reels. I'm talking YouTube Shorts. All of these have started in the last couple of years, and we've all heard stories of people making tons of money and fame from these. But when I hear about all of this personally, my mind is going, but all of these are content creators, right? They're the people who can do the song, the dance, the crazy stuff, and all of that. How can I leverage all of this technology in my domain of software engineering? AI has come to your rescue in 2023. You can possibly 10x your productivity and really stand out from the crowd if you learn today on how to leverage AI tools and technologies. And this stuff is not extremely complicated, at least to get started. It's not like setting up a Kubernetes cluster, which takes a certain level of expertise on containerizations, Linux, shell, etc. etc. For example, getting started on ChatGPT is exactly like signing up for a new application, which you've done tens of times and which you can do in under 10 seconds. And ChatGPT is just one such example. There are tons of other AI tools which have been launched recently relevant for software engineering. Let's dive in and see how we can leverage these. How to leverage AI in software engineering. Profile 1, DevOps Engineer. Let's say as a DevOps engineer, today your task is to Dockerize a Node.js application. The most typical way of going about this is to go to the official documentation of Docker, of Node.js, read about how to Dockerize the application, how to create the Docker file, and then grab a sample Docker file from, let's say, the Node.js libraries, official documentation, and then start customizing it to your environment. Now, the problem is you get a Docker file, then you have to figure out how to compile it, how to run it, how to do different things with it, how to customize it, and stuff like that. And that is where typically a new DevOps engineer will get lost in all of these puzzles, because what you read in the documentation is not valid for your version of the environment, and it gets hairy and complicated from there on. Enter ChatGPT to your rescue. So let's head over to a new friend ChatGPT and see how it can solve your problem. So this is where you can find ChatGPT, chat.openai.com. You can obviously continue with Google because that's what makes sense. Select your primary email ID and there we go. Okay, so this is how ChatGPT looks like, and these are certain examples that you can ask it. Let's start with what our problem statement is. Please write a Docker file for node.js application. And you see ChatGPT has started giving us the response. And there we go. That's the output. Now let's go through it one by one and figure out what it did. So here's a simple Docker file for building a Node.js application using an official Node.js runtime. So it has got the node image and it has picked up the latest one, which is not always the best idea. You should pin it down on one version. Then it has set the working directory and so on and so on. You can just copy the code from here and it gets copied onto your clipboard. Now it's also given a brief explanation of what each line does. For example, this from is the latest Node.js image, worked here, and so on. So it's explained what it's doing. It doesn't stop here, and that's the beauty of ChatGPT. It goes ahead and further tells you that because you've created a Docker file, you obviously want to create the Docker image, and that's the command for creating the Docker image. And then it goes further and says, run the container with Docker run. So you see, it's not just given us the answer to building a simple Docker file, but it's gone ahead and given us all the other details that we need. Now what we have to do is take this, modify this as per requirements, and go ahead. Now you can see that ChatGPT will retain the context of this conversation. For example, I can ask it, in this Docker file, can I use another package manager instead of npm? Let's see what it says. Yes, you can use another package manager as long as it's available on the base image you're using. For example, you can use yarn instead of npm. Beautiful answer, beautiful answer. And it doesn't stop here. That's the freaking beauty of this thing. It updates the Docker file with using yarn. You see here, run yarn install. Yeah. And it's explaining that as well. So let's say you're not familiar with this yarn.lock file in the copy command. You can say here, can you please explain why you used in the copy command? Let's see. Use a log file to keep track of the exact version of which a dependencies installs. Perfect. That's the answer. So you see, it is like having a mentor that you can ask the questions for, and it'll give you the differences also. So pretty well explained. Now let's try something else. Now create a Kubernetes deployment manifest from this Docker image. All right, this is done. So it gives you the manifest. You see here it has used the API version app v1, which is good. It has put the replicas, it has put the spec, and here's a brief explanation of what each section does. Now it doesn't stop there. It says to use this deployment manifest, you need to replace this with the name and version of the Docker image that you built earlier, and save this to a YAML file, gives the name of the YAML file, kubectl apply. This will create a deployment in the Kubernetes cluster. You can check the status, and you can check the status of the pods by kubectl get pods. If everything works correctly, you should see one pod running. Beautiful. This is all that you need to set up the Kubernetes cluster. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of ChatGPT. Profile 2, an architect. Let's say as an architect, you want to map out all the tools across the software development lifecycle in your organization. The traditional way of doing this is through a laborious discovery exercise. Digital.ai has come out with a cool diagram generator. It has tool sets organized into categories and will help you identify the technology sprawl across the organization. You can also share this link of digital.ai across the organization and do a quick audit of what's out there. Use case 2. Let's say as an architect, you want to create different types of diagrams. You can head over to Creately, which is called the new interface for work. And under templates, you can get templates for a bunch of areas. So marketing, strategy, let's see strategy, let's say networking, and let's say engineering and product. So if you head over to strategy, then there is a product strategy canvas. There's this famous diamond strategy. There's a strategy map template. There's even a McKinsey matrix out here. If you go over to network, I think, yeah, networking, there is this basic network diagram. So you can, basic network diagram, you can edit this. Then there is a topology diagram, a sample of this, including Cisco examples, Cisco network diagrams, stuff which we usually use. Head over to engineering diagrams and you can see here IT and engineering. Let's see what the DevOps diagram is about. There's a default lifecycle, Kubernetes architecture diagram. Another one of these, if you're into neural stuff, this eDraw by Wondershare helps you create neural network diagram generator. It has a bunch of types of neural network diagrams, and it says creating neural network diagrams is a breeze. I'm sure it is by this. Sounds cool. Okay. And then there's the most interesting one, which is MCG. And the way it works is it uses Python. This platform makes use of Python as the programming language, and that obviates the need for complex latest language. This is documentation as code principles. And there is a library of functions available to create block diagrams. And once the Python code is compiled, it is converted into LaTeX. And the LaTeX code is then compiled to generate high resolution images, block diagrams. So this is documentation as code. And then if you go into products, there is also a DocuBot. That looks pretty interesting. And it says DocuBot is our innovative NLP product that can answer specific questions from a document based on the contents in the diagram, in the document. Persona type 3. lead in an SI or a system integrator or a services organization. There is this designs.ai where you can create logos, videos, banners, mock-up within 2 minutes. Let's see how. There is a logo maker, there's a video maker, very interesting mock-up maker. If you want to quickly drop mock-ups and you're not using things like Figma, it's a good replacement for that. Anyone can use. So video maker is also text to video technology. There's another one which is Kaggle. Kaggle is transform any hand-drawn design into HTML code with deep learning. I found that pretty interesting. It is based on the open source dataset from Pix2Code. Based on my experience working with an SI, if you're a lead or above, you're creating a ton of presentation. And creating presentation is not everybody's cup of tea. AI to your rescue again. Let's look. Presentation.ai, the fastest way to make beautiful presentations. Create super fast, no stress design, your story, your style. So they have high quality text, templates, ease of collaboration, works everywhere. And then the last one in this category, it's DeckRobot. Create beautiful slides on brand in one click. The warning on using ChatGPT and AI. Do not post your organization's proprietary code on any of these platforms. This is a serious breach of most contracts and can be disastrous. Be extremely careful about this. Do not take anything that these tools say at face value. Validate the answers with your own expertise. For example, if you Google something, Google will tell you the source of that information. And then you can validate whether that's a valid source or not. Do you trust it or not? How current is it? And things like that. Tools like ChatGPT will only give you the answer. You don't know where it's coming from, and that can be dangerous in an enterprise setup if taken at face value. The best way to think about these tools is an inspiration. It can dramatically reduce your throttle time, the time to get started. It can give you a template of code. It can give you how to structure a document. It can give you ideas. But that is what they are today, ideas. You have to then build up your own expertise on top of this to get to the valid answers. As Spider-Man says, with great power comes great responsibility. Practical ideas on how to start freelancing using AI. First things first, there are a bunch of freelancing websites out there. Spend some time to get familiar with them. There are subtle differences in the way they work and the skill level required to get work on these websites. Let's have a quick look at some and figure out how you can use them. Okay, the first one is Upwork. The way I like to check these sites is check the fruit on the tree, right? Let's see what other people have done here. So let's search for DevOps. Under talent, if you see here, this guy Yuri, his rate is $100 an hour. That's not bad. And he's earned over 300K earned. 12 jobs, 9 jobs, 6,506 hours worked. That's nice. Somebody else from Vietnam, $40 rate, India, $30 rate. Okay, what's this? Need a faster turnaround. Ooh, $200 and up. Let's check this out. This is interesting. Okay. So what's this? You will get technical support for DevOps. Starter 200, standard 450, advanced 990. Wow. Project details. With my DevOps solution, I will automate resource intensive areas, hosting, DNS setup, SSL, tools Kubernetes, Ansible, Chef, Docker, Jenkins. Wow. Delivery time 3 days. Starter $200. 450. I like this, man. This guy is good. Okay, so you see the possibilities here. Let's see something else. Something else fancy. $600. Wow. 1200. Ooh, this is getting interesting now. Okay, you will get DevOps pipelines which automate build and deployment of your application. Starter 600, 1500, 3000. Wow. Oh, you see this? He's an exceptional DevOps engineer. We are hiring him as full-time employee. I hope this is a valid comment, but it is interesting. Now let's say find work. What we looked for is what people have done. Let's see what work is available today. Find work for your skills. So let's stick to DevOps. Let's see, one result found for DevOps engineer. Okay. Develop Ansible playbook to automate task on a Cisco device. $200. Okay. Expert needed Django Cloud VPC server. Okay. Let's go to Fiverr. Let's look for DevOps. Okay. And you see here, DevOps guy starting at 13,000 rupees, 2,000, 435 as well. 2,000, 8,000. I will do Docker Swarm, Kubernetes cluster starting at 8,000. 43,000. I would provide cybersecurity and DevOps services. I like the guy, man. 86,000. Wow. 23,000. Let's check out these guys. Okay. AWS based on 12 years of experience in cybersecurity and data protection. I can assist you with any AWS. Wow. This is so cool from Israel. Okay. Training and support on DevOps Terraform starting from 86K INR. I will automate your software delivery process starting from 23,000. You get the idea. So this is DevOps related work. Let's say software development. Similar, turnkey development services, complete develop software or web applications, develop custom HRM, ERP, and things like that. A word of caution. Be careful about some of the malicious sites out there which offer you easy money. Do your research before you share your personal details and get committed for a gig. If it seems too easy, there's probably something wrong. Check and check again. Getting consistent work on these websites is not easy. Since a lot of these sites involve bidding, there is often a rate war and you can lose on the rate that you will be paid for. Be careful about that. The idea that I'm trying to say is that freelancing today in 2023 is possible. Try it with some smaller gigs and see how it works for you. Hope this video opened up your mind to the possibilities that exist today with AI coming in and how you can potentially leverage them. Let me know in the comments below if you're already using some of these tools. Head over to my channel for some more awesome content coming in week after week. See you in the next one. Cheers. Bye.